How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RUFFLEDLIVE, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today we've got some loads of stuff to talk about, so please sit back, relax, grab yourself a beverage. It's going to be a long video, so here we go. Let's get started with the first thing, which is the confirmation that Omori, it looks like, is going to be the director of Scarlet and Violet, or is the director, or, was the director. In case there was any doubts, it's now confirmed that Shigeru Omori is the Scarlet Violet director, and this comes from the fact that we had specifically Toby Fox, the creator of Undertale and Deltarune, I think it's called, created those two games, massive, popular games. And he's a very decent, or very good actually, music composer. He composed a lot of decent, like really good game music, and he's back again. And he's doing it again. He's doing it for Pokemon. He already did this before for Pokemon, but he's back and doing it again, saying, when first given this assignment, the game director, Omori-san, showed me a Lucario with a gigantic oversized crystal flower coming out of its head and told me it was a new game mechanic. Using this information as a blueprint, I created the song. Hope you enjoy. Now, the important part is Omori-san. So he literally confirms that Omori is once again the director of this game, which can be the go any possible way. Omori has done well and bad in some Pokemon games that he has been the lead of, but at least we'll see how it turns out this time around. And yeah, you guys' thoughts and opinions from that will be appreciated. Now let's move on to the larger things. First thing is this right here. This is a massive post, okay? There's a massive thread here about the most recent Pokemon Scarlet and Violet leaks, including, on top of that, most of, like pretty much a massive breakdown of the map from another user, but we're going to do that later in the video. First, we're going to start with this. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet leaks, part 14. Sudowoodo, Teddiursa, and Ditto are in the game, as confirmed to, I guess, to us by Kaka, which, again, Kaka's information is at 50-50, so don't trust it 100%. Absol is not in, so we'll see if that's true. Clarification on the 3 new dog lines. So there is a fairy type, Fido, which we already seen, a dark type, and a ghost type. So there are 3 different new sort of dog type Pokemon in this game, and they're not connected, it seems like. They're going to be separate in, what they're based on. And fairy type Fido is the first one we've seen. There's going to be a dark type, there's going to be also a ghost type as well. Then a pseudo legendary is apparently a dragon ice type, which is going to be interesting to see how that's going to look like. Just kind of curious. There's a new electric bird Pokemon, which I don't know about that one. I haven't heard much about that one. We're going to talk about this a bit later. We will be doing a full video, by the way, guys. Just if you're curious, we will be doing a full video on like every Pokemon so far confirmed. That's going to be for tomorrow. So if you guys are ready for that, then make sure to subscribe, make sure to stay tuned. But either way, a new spider Pokemon, which is pure bug type, possibly. No skirts for trainers, which is fair enough. The lady that wears the black uses a Medicham. So what he's referring to here, he says the lady wears black, is in the trailer. There is this teacher looking character, which I already said is most likely going to be an Elite 4 member, as well as a fighting type teacher with fighting type Pokemon. Apparently she uses a Medicham, which does fit, right? So there's a new sushi Pokemon that looks like a fish. It's a dragon type. We talked about this in previous videos already, so nothing brand new to learn there. The hidden abilities of the starters are not new, so the hidden abilities are not going to be anything brand new, but old ones that we've already had in the past. There's a past Paradox Pokemon based on Suicune, apparently. Okay, that's interesting. So, that is actually interesting, because this actually would confirm then, as you guys may remember, and this is just for those who don't remember, they specifically said, we were told that there was going to be a Gen 2 Pokemon and a Gen 5 Pokemon that were going to be getting a past or future form, and I guess those two might be the ones, Suicune and Virizion, which is interesting, and I think it makes sense and it fits with one specific aspect. I think the reason it's those two, if it actually is those two, and the reason it's a Gen 2 and a Gen 5 Pokemon, is that Generation 2 and Generation 5 are the oldest Pokemon games yet to get a, another remake, so to say, right? So the most recent remakes, if you look at it realistically, the most recent ones were like what? I guess Heart Gold doesn't count because it's so old now. It's older, it's as old as Diamond and Pearl pretty much. So the reasonable ones that we've had in most recent times is Oras, Let's Go Big Eevee, which pretty much remade Gen 1 again, because Gen 1 already had a remake with Fire Red, and then after that it's been like what, Generation 4 getting a remake. So next logical remake is a remake of Generation 2, just like Gen 1 got a remake, and Generation 5, which is yet to get a remake, but that won't be happening until like next generation, I'm pretty sure. But it would be a good way to kind of hint for the future, because they always do that, so keep that in mind. Either way, We'll continue on. He says, however, it looks like both of them have been removed from the data and are being saved for DLC, which wouldn't be surprising if you think about it, because they would be doing the same thing there that they did with the regional birds of Galar, like the regional, like, you know, Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos. Same kind of concept, same sort of ID, that they're going to be added in DLC as these regional forms, but instead of being regional forms, they would be these, you know, ancient, paradox, whatever you want to call them, forms. Either way, new convergent species based on tentacle. It's a mushroom. So we've already spoken about this as well. A new, like, you know, tentacle, kind of like a mushroom looking thing. We've already spoken about that, so nothing brand new there. It evolves into another mushroom based on a tentacle, so fair enough. That is pretty straightforward. We already talked about how this concept works, the regional fakes. Basically, it's a Pokemon that looks very similar to another Pokemon, but in reality, they're two different things. Same way how in real life, we might have a thing that looks like another thing, but they're not the same, right? Like a plant that might look like an actual animal or something, because it's evolved over time to look that way. Either way, next thing, the new dolphin Pokemon is a two-stage one. It evolves into a bigger dolphin that actually has two forms, one which stands on its fins and looks like a superhero, similar to Neospatian Aqua Dolphin right here from Yu-Gi-Oh! Either way, there's a new Pokemon that has a version-exclusive evolution, which, I don't know which Pokemon that's going to be. Don't really have much details on that further, but, hey, it is what it is. We'll see in the future. Either way, next thing, information about the new sub-legendary Quartet. So what are we talking about here? Well, basically, that there are going to be 4 new, and we spoke about this yesterday, but we really went in depth on this yesterday. Check that video out if you want more context, but I'm going to give you a basic breakdown here. Basically, every generation usually includes the trio of, like, sub-legendaries. So, example, Generation 1, Zapdos, Articuno, Moltres, right? Generation 2, Entei, Raikou, Suicune. Generation 3, the Regis, right? The Regis, Regirock, and whatnot, and Registeel, right? Those are like the 3 there. But then they added to kind of make like the, you know, and like a new version, or like to just, I don't know what you want to call it. They'll add more, for example. And then if you look at Gen 5, you had the Genie, right? Like trio, but they completed that trio, the Genie trio. They completed it by adding a 4th one, which was the last one in PLA, right? They added a final Genie in that fits with, you know, I guess like Enamorous, whatever, that fits with, you know, Thunderous, Landorus, and Tornadus, whatever. It fits in with them, right? And basically those counterpart really well, and they added the 4th one, counterpart really well against this Chinese lore that is based around these 4 dragons, or these like kind of deities that exist. There are these kind of beasts, right? Not even dragons, but these literal beasts that exist in some sort of way, which I do wonder. But basically what he says here, based on the old leaker's riddle, so he's talking about Riddler Coup in this case, it seems to be based on the 4 dragons from ancient China's lore. The white pearl dragon, yellow dragon, large great dragon, and the black dragon. Not dragon, nor fairy type. So, okay, so they wouldn't be based on either of those. But yeah, so basically they could be coming out of these like caves that we see here with like there's like basically 4 caves around the map scattered that have waterfalls coming out of them. And it's possible that inside those caves we'll be able to find these actual legendaries. Like that might be the actual location of them, but we'll see. Elite 4, Flying Dragon, Ground, and question mark. So he doesn't have much more information on that. The new Sushi Pokemon is Dragon Water. We already spoke about that. The new Coin Pokemon is a Ghost type. We don't know if it has a second typing. It has something to do with the towers. Again, we don't really know much more context on that. We'll talk about that further later. Bisharp's evolution looks like one of these. Okay, so we pretty much already spoke about this, about it possibly having like a samurai-esque armor-looking design to it. We already spoke about in the past about it being based like on a chess piece design, but we'll have to wait and see how that turns out, right? So it is what it is. Bisharp's evolution is still the same type apparently, so we're sticking with the steel, but either way. So the image is an accessory of Sprigatito's evolution, uses a wand. So what are we looking at? Well, basically this is at the middle stage, I think, and this is mentioned right here. It's a light gacha, actually goes in really well and explains a lot of this information, saying the following. So just to clarify something, guys, if you think Medieval from Sprigatito will have a wand because the photo looks static, I think that Kakai's taken the images from the Pokédex, so they are static images. I am really confident it will be a yo-yo. Now, I don't know why he thinks it's going to be a yo-yo, but basically, it could be the case. It could be that it's a literal yo-yo, just like we see like with this character right here. Could be a literal yo-yo. But if he's taking the photos from like the actual Pokédex page, it could be static for that reason, but it could also be a yo-yo. I don't know why he thinks that specifically, but I think it would be pretty cool of an ID. Don't know how it fits in with lore-wise or anything like that, though. Nonetheless, the next thing, there's a new Fire Warrior Pokemon. This picture is a hint for it, so don't know what that's supposed to teach us. Is that a character from Fate? I feel like that's a character from Fate. I don't really know much about Fate, but anyway. So and yeah, just a kind of a warrior-esque, knight sort of design that's going to be with a fire typing to it, which I am actually excited about that. So There's also a new Fireblade Pokemon. It seems that the Fireblade and Fire Warrior are version exclusive evolutions for the same pre-evolution. So this is the one that we mentioned further up in the post, that like a brand new Pokemon that's going to be getting a version exclusive. Well, this is the fire type that was referred to, right? It's going to be getting a version split more or less. So we'll see how that turns out. Hint for the coin Pokemon evolution. Reminder that it's a ghost type. So yeah, it might be colored a certain way, but it's not going to be that actual, like, you know, if it looks like golden colored, that doesn't mean it's going to be like a normal type or something like that. But it's instead going to be, you know, with the ghost typing, I guess, in this case. So, what do you guys think about that? Either way, next up, Spraytito's evolution is the Magician Pokemon. Quaxly's evolution is the Dancer Pokemon. So, hint for Quaxly's evolution is this image right here. And the hint for Fuecoco's evolution is a literal egg. That's it. Just a straight up egg. And I don't really know what that's supposed to tell me, but if you guys have any thoughts on that, let us know in the comment section down below. I do think Light Gacha had a few thoughts on like the Salt Pokemon, which you guys don't know what we're talking about. It was hinted by a few different people. I think it was also hinted by, I think Riddler, who, I could be wrong, the Riddler, as well as the Kaka Leaker, basically that there is a CUS04 Pokemon, and this was right here posted by Kaka, saying the word salt, and then a picture of Minecraft, possibly meaning that, as he says here, this gives me hope, as I mentioned on my theory, that we can craft the salt Pokemon. As confirmed, there will be no fossil Pokemon, so we need some way to transform or craft the salt Pokemon. So CUS04, this will be the formula. And is it possible? Because again, like this talks about there being a sort of new Pokemon that's going to be based on like this specific CUS04 and some kind of salt Pokemon, and that it might literally be created through, you know, us crafting it alchemically, like putting it together and actually crafting the Pokemon. I mean, even using maybe possibly transmutation circles. I don't know, but we'll see how that turns out though. Nonetheless, what do you guys think about this? It possibly could have been hinted with all these jars and stuff, and this little mini lab that existed in the original first trailer, in like the live action part of the trailer. But again, your guys' thoughts and opinions are, of course, very much appreciated. There is loads more that was posted here by our guy, Light Gacha, that, like, you know, goes through all this stuff. But we already talked about this in a previous video, so check those out for that. Next up is this information right here coming from Soul Silver, who says, just an update to the PAX West situation. I didn't see that the Pokemon is actually confirmed to be there. The exact quote is below. Sounds like a demo, as well as a few-minute explanation video on it. I'm excited to see and concerned about it, honestly. So, the Pokemon Company has confirmed to be among the exhibitors at the PAX West, a massive gaming convention held in the US West Coast. The convention is being held in Seattle from September 2nd to September 5th, and will feature many more exhibitors aside from the Pokemon Company, including Nintendo. According to the press release, the Pokemon Company is inviting trainers to experience the latest and greatest from the storied monster-catching franchise, what has led many to speculate that Scarlet and Violet will be featured at the event, with some hoping that a demo might be shown off, similar to that Pokemon Sword and Shield demo, which was featured at many such conventions. At the time of writing, however, nothing about Pokemon Company's plan to PAX West have been confirmed. Stay tuned for more as it comes. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. He says, I'm assuming we may get a tease to a new Pokemon at Worlds, or at least in among Copium that we might. The most concerning thing is there's a demo the first week of September. Gameplay and new Pokemon. When will the trailer in September actually be? Would they really do no trailer in September? Well, we'll have to wait and see, my friend. As you've noticed, they don't seem to care. So what are we talking about actually? Well, PAX West is a convention, and they've done it in the past, like you guys can see right here. From back in 2018, 2019, for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, they did it during one of the conventions there. They showed off a demo that people could play, and also for 2019 with Sword and Shield, they had a demo where Yamper and Impidimp finally got revealed and leaked out to the public, and that's kind of that. So you guys' thoughts and opinions would be appreciated. Let me know in the comment section down below on that. And next up is some different aspects to the Paradox Pokemon, and this is coming to us from Soul Says, so many have said that the past Paradox Pokemon are ancient versions, but what if they have less to do with that and more to do with other inspirations, like old myths like a vampire Jigglypuff or legendary tales, and figures like a samurai Among Us. For so long now, people thought that Kaka's Samurai hint was a new Bug Samurai Pokemon, but Among Us is probably what he was talking about, even the Bishop Evo or the Fire Warrior. To me, it was always Among Us as a legendary samurai. My point is maybe we shouldn't be so hasty to judge or fully believe our interpretations of what Kaka says. Well, again, this is just Soul being against Kaka every 2 seconds. I get it, Kaka's been incorrect about some stuff, but I mean, at the end of the day, he has actually given us legitimate leaks, so I do take what he says with a grain of salt, but also I kind of assume most of it has some connection to reality. However, what Soul is talking about more here, I guess, is the interpretation of what these things are. Are they ancient? Are they not? I don't really know if Kaka was the one who kind of pushed that ancient norm. I think it's mostly us as a community. We kind of all decided that, oh, these Pokemon from the past would be ancient, and the Pokemon from the future would be futuristic, right? And that just goes off of the concept of like, well, one is from the past, one is from the future, right? That's just kind of the whole point of it. That's why we call them ancient Pokemon and, you know, and future Pokemon. But, you know, calling them, I guess, past paradoxes, you know, whatever you want to call them, like, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if they're based on a vampire, it doesn't matter. If it's based on a samurai, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, as long as they look like they fit the older theme more, I think that's what it's all about, right? If a vampire looks more like, you know, past to you, that makes sense, right? But if something looks more like, you know, cyberpunky with, like, visors and shit, you know, then I guess that's more futuristic. So, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's based on a vampire or if it's based on a caveman. I don't really think so. I mean, literally, we have a professor that literally looks like a cave woman. And then on the other hand, we have, like, you know, two legendaries that straight up do that same thing, you know? Like, one looks like futuristic and one looks like, you know, it popped out of, I don't know, like a dinosaur movie from 2005. My point is, it doesn't really matter. So let's continue to the next thing, which is this post right here from Zodiac Cooler, who says, opinion time. And then it's a picture from Kaka, where he basically just put a bunch of question mark thingies and then 3 Pokemon that were posted right there, or 4 Pokemon, sorry, which I don't really know what to take with this. I don't really know, man. This is interesting, but some, you know, people do point out that these are all, I guess, dark types in this case. Not really sure. I'm not really sure, but he says pinion time, which I don't really even know what that means, to be honest, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the big one. This is the one that's going to take up most of the rest of the video, so if you guys don't care about the map of the game, then I would say probably, you know, just take a breather, you know, go do something else, because this is going to be a long one, or just put this in the background. Honestly, just put this in the background, because it's going to take a while. So, this is coming to us from Ateri. Shout out to Ateri on Twitter, by the way. If you want to look through this on your own, check out their Twitter. But here's what I say. I come back with my analysis. This time, I'll be reviewing the Paldea region map from a cultural and geographical point of view. Do you want to know the reasons behind this map's breakdown? The thread incoming, I'll add tweets little by little. First of all, I want to clarify that I don't know anything about any leaks, nor am I interested on them, so keep that in mind. Secondly, it's important to know that the Pokemon never goes one-to-one with the real-life counterpart of a region. They prefer to use a synodosh, a part referring to the whole, to represent the culture and geography of a certain place. For example, a simple zone might work as a reference of a whole province or a list of geographical accidents common in the certain places. Because of this, some zones might be represented only by a building and small area, etc. One good example is Postwick and Wedgehurst zones, referring to Cumbria as a whole, compressing all the cultural aspects and geographical general geography in some places in the game. Names in different languages may hint the real-life references of different routes and cities, or at least give a good trail to follow. So I'll use as much as I can of those two. I'll follow an anti-clockwise order from the house of the protagonist, dividing the map in zones. Then let's start from our house. As said months before, geographically and culturally speaking, the house of the protagonist was coastal, Andalusian, and, if stretched out a bit, Valencian. So what he's talking about? Well, the design of the house. If you look at these houses here, they do match the style, like incredibly, they do match the style on point really well. I think so for a fact. I mean, there is like the little bit like stone area right here on like the left side of the map, like right next to my head. It's like the stony area. I don't know if there's really much in those images right there shown with that kind of design, but nonetheless, they do fit. My bets were in 2 Andalusian cities, Cadiz and Malaga. Traditional coastal houses in Andalusia are like that. Valencia, because of the oranges in the house and the Mediterranean vibe, and Faro, stretching the Andalusian influences. Then he continues. From images of the game in Spanish, we can say without doubts that it is based in Cadiz, probably mixed with a bit of Malaga. Sendero de Cajiz, the Poco Path, and Sendero de Cadiz, Cajiz or Cadiz's path. Not only this, but geographically speaking, Cadiz is in a cape. So in this case, he's talking about the bottom part, the starting area for the map, right? So you guys can see right here, I'm going to be moving my camera away to this side so you guys don't get blocked, so you guys can actually see the information. But yeah, basically, the starting area of the map is literally this zone right here. And he's pretty much pointing out that it is most likely based on this part of, you know, I guess Spain, right? This is part of like the literal like I was gonna say continent, country. But let's not forget that there is also Portugal. And I will say right now, I know there's a certain someone who's gonna watch this video from Portugal and get pissed off if Portugal isn't mentioned. So I will say Portugal most likely is also like what they're basing this on. Actually, this is something that goes against what Ateri here is saying. But this is something that was said to me by Lindsay Sensei, who is Portuguese, who specifically pointed out that the bottom part of the map could literally be based all on Portugal. Like that bottom part, literally like the most southern part of the map, since it is a kind of inverted version of basically, the Iberian Peninsula, that part, in his opinion, is based on specifically his opinion, is based on Portugal. Now, again, I don't really know. I'm just reading the information and trying to see what fits and doesn't fit. So, that Gruta Caleta, Inlet Grotto, and the beaches near it reference La Caleta in Cadiz, one of Cadiz's most famous beaches. The grotto itself might reference Nerja's cave in Malaga, or all the other caves and grottos from Malaga. Check them out. There are a ton, and of course, here you go. You guys can see that. The beach, which would be close to, like, close to like the area right here. You guys can see there is also that, like, the grottos right here kind of in between, and the beach right there as well. So there you go. Either way, again, a part of for the whole, the overall shape of the zone also seems to be modeled after Cadiz and Malaga's provinces, but compressed. The lighthouse we see, it is probably based on the famous Rotas lighthouse near Heracles Arrow. So, those little islands to the south might be a reference to Sancti Petri Island, where the Temple of Heracles was supposed to be, Mogueranos, La Redonda, etc. Little islands near Cadiz. Canaries is in a different place, you will see. Well, the Canaries would be literally next to Africa, so if you take, like, the map of Spain right here, if you want to know where the Canaries are, they're basically, like, okay, if I was to explain right now, if I was to take my massive head here, actually, I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to turn on our cursor so you guys can see what we're looking at. But, basically, if we look at it like this, so, if you look at the map right here, and you look at where, like, we are right here. So this is all Spain. Well, Canaries are down here. Like, further down here. Not even, like, close here. Further. Much further down here. Like, a bit further down here is where the Canary Islands are. They're basically, like, on the same, like, longitude, I would argue, where, like, I guess I would say, where, like, kind of the African continent begins, right? They're, in my opinion, a bit out of the European kind of, like, continental area, in my personal opinion. But again, that's just the way I see it on a map. When I look at a map, I feel like, oh, it's more like, next to Africa than it is, like, next to Europe, in my opinion. But again, that's just my thoughts. But that's down there. So if they do a DLC, it most likely will be based on that, or any of the many islands around and whatever they can do. I mean, shit, they can even go to Andorra, right? They can do that if they want to, which is just, like, small little speck up in the top of the map here. So, yeah, whatever you guys think about that, let me know in the comment section down below. Let's move on to the next aspect, which is going to be this right here. So let's continue down here. Either way, so he says, now let's expand our scope a little bit. It is time to cover the whole Paldean Andalusian region. First of all, the geography, from my point of view, the whole Paldean Andalusian geography is based in 4 places. Again, I mean, this could be what it is based on. It could be based on this part of Spain. Or, as mentioned, this whole thing could just be literally, like, their interpretation of what Portugal should be. And then the top part is, like, one of the bigger cities within Portugal itself. So, again, I don't really know. But we continue on. So, Donana Las Marismas, basically the Beatic system, also called the Beatic Mountain Ranges, and Tabaran Desert, which is featured in 2 places. The first one, Donana, is a unique natural reserve of saltwater marshes, ponds, dunes, and high variety of flora and fauna that covers Huelva, Sevilla, and Cadiz. It is one of the most important within Europe, and it hosts a huge variety of endemic species, which I guess it could kind of fit the theme. I guess it kind of fits the ball. You know what I mean? If you look at kind of with the different, like, little marsh lakes that are kind of sticking out everywhere. I mean, it does kind of have that vibe to it. There's a lot of little, like, marshes here kind of sticking out, which yeah, it fits actually. Moreover, he says the marshes here are nearby since they are an extension of the Donanos marshes. The cascade we see to the east is probably based on Quimbaras Cascade, Jaén, Coros of Joracon Cascade, Huelva, or Huesnar Cascade, Sevilla. So that's what it could be based on. I mean, we even have, like, the straight up, like, waterfalls fit in as well. On the other hand, the Beatic system covers a whole variety of mountain ranges from Andalusia to Mercia and part of Valencia. There are more than 30 mountain ranges. The Sierra Nevada, which is Scarlet Vallet's Gilceado, called Sierra Napada in Spanish, being the most important one. This part of Spain is packed by mountains and valleys, so it explains why the region map has them too. The bigger peak is probably a reference to the Mulhaken mountain. This system is also present in the region map in the next zone I will analyze. So, finally, the little desert we see to the east is the Paldean Andalusia, might be reference to the Tabernas Desert in Almeria, the only desert within Europe and the really important ecosystem. Tabernas Desert is probably portrayed in the northwest part of the region too, somewhat. But still, it is not a coincidence to have the desert area in the same place corresponding to the real-life Almeria. Moreover, there is a beach near that part of the map as a representation of Almeria's coast, and probably also the Costa Calida, Murcia. So, in general, we have here a mix of marshes, mountains, and desert parts, representing all of Andalusia. The whole, of course, the zone which is Cadiz, also follows this Sindoche plus the Cape, beaches, and grottos. The river that separates the zone of the player's house from the rest of the Paldean Andalusia is probably the, I guess, river right there. I'm going to not try Guadalquivir river, since the bigger one around Mesagoza is the Tajo River, combined with the Guadiana and the Segura rivers, depending on the part of the map. For example, in this place, we have the aforementioned Guadalquivir, the Tajo River to the north, and the Guadiana River to the northeast, and Segura River to the northwest. The little town in the middle of this zone is probably a syncretic version of the Andalusia's big cities, Sevilla, Huelva, Cadiz, Malaga, and Almeria, downscaled to town size. Nevertheless, it is difficult to confirm anything in a small town just from a rescaled map. Now, let's cross the bridge to the east towards the dry mountains zone. From my point of view, this zone is a mix of Mercia, Alicante, and Albacete. The three of them are dry areas, categorized by the clay color of the ground, which, yes, we can see that kind of right here. Which actually, I'm kind of curious to explore these areas, the more drier, more deserty areas, in my opinion. I think would be fun. Mercia and Alicante are extremely mountainous provinces, populated by pine trees. But not only that, Mercia is known for having barrancos de jebas, which are a protected area of badlands, ravines, and cliffs that look almost like a steep. And then he says, honestly, there is also a bit of Mercia around the east coast of the Paldean Andalusia, but still makes more sense in this zone. The big mountain is probably a reference to the Puig Capana, the tallest mountain nearby a coast in the whole peninsula involved in the legend of Roland, I guess. If we follow the path to the east, we get to the city with the classic windmill and the flowers. The windmill might be a reference to Castilla-La Mancha, and then a land of Don Quixote. The focus of the flowers and how they are distributed might be a reference to the multiple gardens of Valencia. So here you guys can see that part of the map right there, which again looks beautiful. I mean, this map looks beautiful, by the way. One thing I've noticed is that they really went more all out on making this map more detailed and more realistic than they did with the Sword and Shield map. They definitely did a better job with this one than the Sword and Shield map. It's 10 times better, actually 100 times better in my opinion. But yes, I guess this would be the reference to this area, and then we go over here. We've got a little city in the middle that looks very... This is the one where, of course, we're going to have the big flower area. There is even a labyrinth we can see in there, and on top of that, we're going to be able to do a gym battle most likely here as well. So there is that. He then says, following the geographical location, the botanical gardens across Spain and Portugal, there is one in La Mancha and Valencia, or the Rosaledas, rose and flower gardens across Spain. I'm thinking about the one in Madrid and Valencia. The fact of having palm trees and swimming pools makes me consider this city as based on mainly on Valencia with a sprinkle of La Mancha. Also, don't forget that in the cactus garden of Lanzarote, there is a classical windmill in the middle, pretty similar to the one of this city. Still, they might just be the windmills, more important to the peninsula. This city also features a path over some little ponds that might reference the coastal lagoon Albufera of Valencia that also has this kind of path to it. The houses that feature in this city and other houses in this game follow the Austrian/Northern style of housing, so there is a bit of it too. Unfortunately, I can't distinguish more from the map and the screenshots when it comes to that stuff. Leaving the city, the rest of this zone follows the green and beaches expected from the coast of the whole Valencian community, as well as the forest area of the innermost Valencia. The next zone may be a reference to Ebro Delta because the river, based in the Ebro River, the divided lands by it, and the plains around it. The city seems to be a mix between the geographical location of Barcelona and the business center of Madrid, which, yeah, if we look at it right here, it does kind of match up, I guess, in some way, right? It does. It kind of does. It literally kind of, like, straight up does. This whole part does match up perfectly. But not just that. If you look at the big, like, skyscrapers literally right there, they are perfect match, guys. They're a literal perfect match. So, yeah, I think we can establish what this is definitely based on for a fact. It says, the city of arts and science of Valencia, surprise. Northern towns from Spain, Asturias, Cantabria, and the Basque country, and the buildings we see there are all colorful and high, are the typical houses we see in the coastal cities from the north of Spain. And you guys can see right there, kind of like very similar architecture that we see from that city that we saw a second ago. So yeah, what do you guys think about that? Again, thoughts and opinions would be appreciated. Nonetheless, there are some more colorful houses in the coast of Alicante or Girona, but they are not as common as in the north of Spain. So this city is a mix between the modernity of Madrid, the location of Barcelona, and the traditional cities of the northern parts of Spain. The blue lighthouse might be a reference to the Torre del Mar of Malaga, a lighthouse painted in blue, which, by the way, is prohibited for lighthouses, and of course the islands to the east of the Paldean Catalonia are the Balearic Isles. You can see right there, you got the kind of, I guess, the light tower, and then you have the islands as well, with, you know, all of them, Norca, Mallorca, and Ibiza, and Formentera as well. So there you go. Either way, to the north of this area, we will find an arid area between rivers and forests. This seems to be the area where the geysers could be seen in the second Scarlet Valley trailer. From my point of view, it is inspired by various places. Geographically, by the Zaragoza and Torrelles, which are located between the two rather green regions and zones like Monegros or nearby the Iberic mountain system. The volcanic Timafallas National Park in Lanzarote, Canary Islands, which has similar geography and also geysers and ponds of water like these. So yeah, basically they're taking aspects from even like the Canary Islands, I guess, with the geysers and stuff, and implementing that in the mainland game, which hey, fair enough, it is what it is. Also, geysers were found in Campo de Calatrava in Ciudad Real, which has a volcanic past and has Mars volcanic craters filled with water that seems to be featured in this zone of the game. The peninsula is filled by volcanic places with this kind of activity. In Portugal, we can also find the Furnas from Azores. And other important volcanic places in the peninsula are Olot, Girona, Spain, that I will explain in a different tweet, and Cabo de Gata. Okay, let's just go back here, we don't mess that up. Cabo de Gata, or Cat's Cape in Almeria. The building we might see might follow the rock buildings from Zaragoza, which are similar to, I guess, or like this basically in design. So in my opinion, we are before a region that mixes Zaragoza's geography and location with Timfalla's volcanic activity and geography. This is what I was saying before with the use of the part for the whole without thinking too much in the 1-to-1 representation, which is true. Of course, they're going to take aspects of even Portugal here. They're going to take aspects of, I would assume, even a little bit of the aspects that you find in, I guess, Gibraltar, right? Or even Andorra, possibly. They can use all those aspects because they are close in proximity, and of course, like, you know, it just makes sense to use those things and mix them in. They're not going to use just 1-to-1 all the time. Now, to the north of this zone, we find a mountain system filled by really interesting peaks, rock arches, and forests with brown soil. The region is based in Girona, more specifically in the volcanic protected space of La Goraca, which basically looks like this. You guys got the little mountain peaks, which look really like evil. Those like mountain peaks look really like they want to stab you. I don't know why. They look very stabby, which I guess fit with this part of, you know, Spain in this case. So we continue on. It says this is a mountainous region filled by forests, oaks, and beaches. In fact, the zone with brown soil is clearly referencing the Fajeda de Enjorda, a beach forest filled by color and volcanic remnants. He says, I guess not beach, but like beach, I don't know. But basically a place filled with forest, right? Either way, the mountains we see are probably based of the walls of Finestres, Huesca, and the Monte Perdido range, also from Huesca, and the Pedraforca, Barcelona, and Lleida, all of them in the Pyrenees. So the Pyrenees mountains in this case, right? Which these things look sick, and they do look very similar. They look incredibly similar and very, 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 very on point. But nonetheless, we continue on. The wall of Finestres seems pretty clear to me in the south of the mountain range, since we have a clear wall between the Arid Zone and the mountain ranges. There are multiple rock arches in the peninsula, and those we see in this zone are probably based in the rock arches from the natural park of Els Ports in Tarragona and the Eye of Peña Mea, the Asturias. The lake with the tree is referencing the lakes of Colomers and the rest of Arans Valley lakes. The river we see there, it is probably based in the river Llobregat or the Aragon River, which is, yeah, you know what, honestly, look, I mean, dude, it just makes me. This just feels like a advertisement to go to Spain for some reason, but not going to like the coastal parts, but more to the mountainous parts. It literally just feels like an advertisement for that, straight up, dude. Which I wouldn't mind, to be honest. I would love to go visit a place like this. It looks beautiful. I love mountains. Okay, so yeah, just to the northwest of the Paldean Zaragoza, we have another green zone, which is clearly a valley. This valley may have multiple references based in its location. Valleys within the Pyrenees, from my point of view, is based in the valleys from the three provinces, which. Hey, it fits, man. It is a straight-up valley, and it fits. It looks beautiful. Nonetheless, the Huesca, Navarra, and the Basque Country. In Huesca, we find Ordesa Valley, the UNESCO World Heritage Site, Benesques Valley, and Pinedas Valley. In Navarra, we find Bastans Valley and the Roncalls Valley. In the Basque Country, we can find the Nervion River Falls and the Aralar. So, all these locations might have very well been the inspiration from this part of the region. Since they are full of valleys and forests, the rivers we see, it's probably based in the Nervion River and its spring, or the river Asson Spring, even though I tend towards the Nervions. The little lakes we see seems to be inspired by the lakes of Urbion, La Rioja. Now, let's check the north of the region. The big snowy mountains we see north seem to be a mix of the peaks of Europe, the Asturias, the Cantabria, as well as the Castilla-León. So, Sierra Nevada, since in the game in Spanish, its name is Sierra Napada, or I guess an Anetos Peak. From the Pyrenees, we can see within the mountains, they are clearly referencing Treviso, from Cantabria. So, in this case, he's assuming that they're based on these areas right here, which... wouldn't be too far-fetched, I guess. I mean, at the end of the day, we do know it's all based on Spain in general, so, yeah. By the way, so he says, it continues on. The snowy mountain ranges to the east of the big one is clearly based on the Uriel Peak, also called the Naranjo de Bulnes, within the peaks of Europe in Asturias. The lake is referencing the Covadonga Lakes, specifically the Lake Enol, also in Asturias. In this case, we zoom in. We got the mountain range, of course, on the east side here. We got a lake coming through. We got like not a lake, I guess a river coming through, and a lake on the top, as well as a lake on the other side as well, on the other peak, which could, of course, be based, as mentioned, on this location within Spain as well, which this looks beautiful, by the way. It is genuinely beautiful. I mean, look at this. Look at this lake, dude. This just looks beautiful, man. But, yeah, what do you guys think about that? So then he says, the swampy area between the big mountains and this mountain range is based on the Marismas of Noja and Santona, within the lighthouse referencing one of the multiple lighthouses in the north of Spain, probably San Agustin's lighthouse, which is in the Asturias, or Ajos Lighthouse, the Cantabria. Overall, this part of the region is a mix between Cantabria and Asturias. Then he says, the autumn forest is based on the Galicia and its Riberia Sacra, where autumn is beautiful and magical. It is not a joke. The autumn scenery there is incredible. The little river and cascade we see there are based on the river Minho and its spring, which this actually fits perfectly. I mean, you guys can see literally the top part is turning autumn, while the bottom part is like still staying like, as if it's like, summer, spring, etc. And this kind of fits that perfectly. I mean, it just looks beautiful like that. Just genuinely, this top image, dude, that looks beautiful. The mountain is probably based on Mustalar, Trevinco, I'm not going to try to say that, mountains, or all of them. The rock formations in this coast are probably based on the Rias Atlas and their rock formations. This little lake in the south might be based in the Laguna de Doninos, which I guess he's talking about right here, this little lake in the bottom part right there, and this possibly like in the one here, and this kind of like area right there. So those fit in right there with those. Then he says, on the other hand, the big lake under the Paldean Galicia is based on Sanabria's Lake, Zamora, the biggest lake on the peninsula, adding probably the swampy areas in Castilla y León called Tierras de Campos, which extends a bit towards Portugal. And there you guys go, got that big boy right there. And then we have, of course, as mentioned, the same big boy in Spain in this case, and of course the swampy areas around it. So, again, it's going to probably piss off a few Portuguese people, but again, it's not up to me, guys. I'm just literally reading what people are writing. If you guys have a better interpretation for like the Portuguese parts, then send them over. Send them my way, tweet them at me, whatever. Just make a big thread like this, and I'll cover it in another video as well if you want me to. But this is the interpretation of Ateri right now, with his interpretation or her interpretation, their interpretation of what the map is based on. And so far, a lot of it does fit. There's probably some misconceptions here and there, but for the most part, it does seem to fit really well. And of course, if you guys think that it's incorrect, then feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. Around the lake, we have the representation of Castilla y León, an extensive region from Spain crossed by the Duero River, which we can see in the map. The city we see near the Bism is the center of the region. It is probably based on Soria or Segovia. which I guess we see right there. Since the buildings look traditional, like traditional houses from those cities, I'm not sure about it and what it is based on. I guess the scientific station in the abysm, I guess the abyss, right? So this little city right here, what it's based on, he doesn't have an actual context for that. Doesn't actually have a connection to it, but he says that it could be based on this like area right here, based in La Rioja. So it could be that area right there, like this giant kind of mountain and this little city next to it. So it seems to be some sort of cave in the little river. We see there's something that makes me think about is the Atapuerca Burgos. Even though I think that the cave is based on this, it will be a different part of the map. So to the south, near the coast, we find a city which is probably based on Porto and Lisbon. So it seems to be the biggest... Well, guess what? Hey, Portuguese people, don't get mad. Now we're talking about Portugal. So, Porto and Lisbon, or Lisbon, whatever. It seems to be a big market or station in the middle of the city, which makes sense, since both cities feature important markets, Mercado de Bolhao and Mercado de Ribeira. So in this case, we got this spot right here. And then we have two little mini cities actually, and we do have the market one down there in the bottom left. So yeah, that fits perfectly. The color houses also look like the colors of Porto and Lisboa's houses. Also, the port with the storehouse nearby seems to reference Porto's and Lisboa's port, I guess Lisbon's ports. The islands to the east of this city are referencing the islands of Madeira and Azores. The beaches we see are also a good way. And I guess you guys can see right here the kind of houses. And yes, this is going to make all the Portuguese people happy. Yes, Portuguese people, you should be happy and proud of your country. Either way, also a good way to represent northern Portugal, Portuguese beaches. About the lighthouse, I know that the coast of Portugal has a lot of lighthouses, so it is difficult to discern which is the most noticeable. I summon you, Portuguese people. Going into the desert from the south of Paldean Porto, Lisbon, we find a rock circle. Looks like the Cromlech de los Almendros, one of the most important cromlechs in Europe and the world in general. The desert, from my point of view, is another version of the Tabernas Desert from Almeria, since it comes together well with the Cromlech and the ruins around it. A proper desert is always needed in a Pokemon game. Then, to the east of the desert, we can find another city, a pretty blue one, that seems to be based on the Salamanca or Segovia, if we take into account its position in the map. I tend more towards the Salamanca due to the amount of bridges that this city has and it's being crossed by. Then he says two water sources. Nevertheless, the desert vibe and the blue color scheme, I guess, makes me think that the blue town is Juscar in Malaga. Might also be involved in the concept of the city. The river that crosses the city is the Tormes River, which ends in the Duero River. Like in the river that ends in the Paldean Duero. We see how the river divides in two, like the Tormes River does in Salamanca, becoming the main stream of the Tormes River, and then the Zuruen River, I guess. In the north of the desert, we find that what it seems to be is these three chasms that might be referencing all the chasms we find in the Rio León and the rest of Castilla y León. There are thousands. I'm not joking. You can check the Excel if you want to get more, I guess, details on that. And don't forget that in Spain we find San Pedro's Chasm in Oliete, the Torca del Cerro Chasm in Cabrales, the Asturias, and then within the depth of 1,500 and more, even radioactive chasms and caves that you can find there as well. Which, you know what, actually, I mean, hey, it fits, you know, like big old chasms, dude. Big old holes in the ground. I think it is, this is the point where we'll be able to access the equivalent of Altermeria's and Atapuerca's archaeological sites in Paldea, which is possible. Then we have this part. This is south of the desert. We will find what is considered to be the Paldean mid and southern Portugal. First of all, Portuguese coasts are not only soft beaches, but we find also cliffs and other extreme coasts, like near San Vincent, Cape in Sagres, or Lagos. You guys can see right here. You guys do have this kind of more mountainous, almost like, you know, kind of beach fronts here. You guys can kind of see going on, which does kind of, I guess, fit in some way, which is highly possible. In general, Algarve has pretty steep cliffs. The mountain with a cave entrance and the lake nearby seems to be based on the Peneda Gerês National Park because of the height of the mountains and the lake nearby, since this national park is characterized by the dam inside it. This lake works as a spring for the Paldean Tajo River that goes on the opposite direction compared to the real one. As you can see, this mountainous geography goes to the south and probably portraying this part of the Portugal using what we see from the national park, and the Portuguese forests and mountains again, the bar representing the whole. Then the cave we find in the mountain could be the entrance to an archaeological site. some ruins or a cave system based on a previous location. The amounts of caves, grottos, chasms, etc. in the peninsula makes no sense. The windmills we find here are, again, a reference to La Manja windmills of Don Quixote, but also the Portuguese windmills. There are a lot of them, the modern and traditional ones, of course. So, to the east of the Paldean Portugal, we will find the Paldean Extremadura in the Arid Zone, full of olive trees and crops. To the north of this Arid Zone, in both coasts of the Paldean Tajo, we'll find the mountainous fertile transition lands between Castilla y León and Extremadura, which is this area with the natural park of Batuecas and the Francia mountain range. The Arid Zone represents the whole Extremadura, but it is specifically based in Badajoz, by what we can see by the colors of the soil and the, I guess, multitude of dry land crops it is trying to represent. Then, the Dehesa from Badajoz and part of Huelva, where the Iberian pig thrives. The little lake might be based on La Serena Dam. The fictional Tajo divides in two surrounding Paldean Extremaduras, probably being the north based on the Tajo River and the southern one of the Guadiana River. Then we have this chunky boy right here. Now, let's cover the southern east part of the map and leave Mesagosa to the final part. This might be the controversial opinion, but I think this part of the map is based on the Rock of Gibraltar and the Canary Islands. Probably Gran Canaria. Look at the shape. So, he's talking about, I guess, the shape of this thing, and then the shape of the actual, like, I guess, Gran Canaria in this case. But I can kind of see that. I can kind of see what he means by it. Again, it's not an island, though, because Gran Canaria, it's an island. In this case, it's not an island, but they have taken aspects from the islands and actually implemented that in the mainland as well. So it's always possible, but that's what he says, and the reason continues on. The Rock of Gibraltar represents the steep cliffs. It could also be Gibraltar, right? But the steep cliffs and Canary Islands in the semi-desertic climate and the high mountain Teide. And the city we find there, the houses of the city look like the Canary Islands villas, which you can see right here. This, I guess, would be Gibraltar right here, I'm assuming. And then here, I guess, is the, the houses that you see, I guess, in the Canaries, the villas, more or less. So, is this the case? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I don't know. We can find some sort of observatory in the sit, probably based in the Teide Observatory, one of the most important ones in the world. The palm trees look like the Canary Islands date palm. Finally, Mesagoza, which encompasses all these places, Mesalona, Mesaledo, Mesopolis, Ciudad Meseta. The main city is based in multiple Spanish cities, mainly Barcelona. This city that we see in the middle right here is based on multiple different things, right? And this top part as well, I guess. So, the top part, of course, is like, I guess, the observatory or whatever. First of all, the general shape of the city, being surrounded by rivers and those three bridges, all of it's based on Toledo, which is this right here, I guess, kind of a similar concept, which, a river kind of going around it, more or less, which you can even see right here in terms of its design. I mean, it kind of does have that same exact style to it, doesn't it? Like, bridges kind of like needing to be crossed over on different spots to be able to cross over to the, to the rest of the land as it's being surrounded by the water. The architecture of the bridges, the squares and the walls of the city and the academy are based off of Gaudi's architecture, referencing the towers of the Sagrada Familia, the Park Güell, and also Mila House. All of this is in Barcelona. They recreated pretty well Gaudi's Arabic influences. And the distribution of the city is similar to that of Park Güell. Neighborhood distribution in the east seems to follow the structure of Zaragoza near the Ebro River. To the west, the one we find in Toledo, or medieval Spanish towns, which is in this case here. The house buildings of the city seem to follow classical buildings that we can find in Madrid, Zaragoza, and Toledo. The color of their roofs seems to follow the red-orange from Zaragoza, Toledo, and Barcelona and Madrid, and the green ones in those from Zaragoza. The main square is based on the Piazza Mayor of Madrid. The yellow color of the most of the walls of the building is called Albero. The really important in Sevilla and other cities of Spain as Madrid, Zaragoza, Toledo. I can't see well how there are buildings in top western part of the city, I guess. But yeah, saying the academy is modeled after some prisons of Spain like La Modelo or Carabanchel's prison, like some users have already pointed out. And the Sagrada Familia. The top right part of the city with the high walls seems to be based off of the walls from Aljaferia Palace from Zaragoza. So here you guys can see, this does fit with what we see actually for the school as well, and its design and everything. It does kind of have this kind of shape to it, which is a bit weird. It seems that in the southeast of the city, there is some sort of botanic park. The stadium outside the city might be based on the Iberian Museum or stadiums. To finish this long thread, the abyss we see in the center of the map is Madrid and its great pollution, lol. I guess that's just a bit of a joke at the end. But yeah, a lot of people like to just meme on Madrid, I've noticed. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, that is pretty much it for this thread. This was a long thread, man, and shout out to Ateri for sending this my way. I guess at the end there was some stuff for all the Portuguese people out there that are fans of Pokemon and whatnot. You guys got something in the end there. At the end of the day, you still got something. So yeah, that is that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for watching this video, guys. This one was a long one. We're 49 minutes in. I've been recording for almost an hour. I still have to literally go and like do a live stream after this. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for coming through. I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Peace out and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.